Welcome. Today I am trying something new on the channel, which is behind the scenes wedding photography. So wedding photography is a huge source of income for me during the summer. And when I was first starting or getting into wedding photography, I found it very overwhelming. Whether it was figuring out what kind of f-stop to use, what camera bodies to use, lenses, how to pose people, it was all a lot to take in. And what I found very helpful was watching other photographers and seeing their behind the scenes videos of wedding photography. Just being able to see the photographer, see all their settings on their camera, know what was going through their head when they were capturing these photos, or where to stand to capture the first kiss, what to really focus on when you are a wedding photographer was a huge help for me. So I decided to do it myself. So over the next few months, I'm going to be releasing my wedding photography behind the scenes. I strap a camera to the top of my camera, and you will see behind the scenes footage of everything I capture. I will walk you through the settings I use. You will see the final photos I captured after editing them. And I will talk you through how I started out in wedding photography, the struggles I had with it, how I learned, and how I overcame those struggles. So with that in mind, please like and subscribe if you do enjoy these videos. Leave a comment below, hit the bell, the notification bell, so you're up to date on all the videos I am releasing, so you never miss out. I am doing a lot of pointing. Let's just jump into the video. Good afternoon. Today we are at Harrah's Cove in Port Renfrew on the west side of Vancouver Island. I am doing 4 hours of wedding coverage. You will be on top of my camera the entire time. The area is beautiful. There's a lot of cottages, cabins that the wedding party is renting out. They are getting married at a viewpoint here, and we are going down to a local beach where we'll do some more photos down there. The skies are very cloudy. Hopefully the rain holds off. It doesn't say it's supposed to rain, but it is looking very ominous out there. The wind's about 3 knots. So hopefully that dies down. I stole a bran muffin from the hotel, so let's go. Shout out to that bran muffin. It was surprisingly delicious. So here we are at the wedding venue. This is the platform that is outlooking Harrah's Cove. The couple has set up a beautiful little area here. I arrived about 30 minutes early, and I'm just grabbing a lot of fine details of the arch, of these benches, of these flowers. Any kind of little details that the couple has clearly spent time on, I want to photograph. This turned out really well. I'm on my Canon 5D Mark IV and a Sigma Art Series lens 50mm f1.4. The f1.4 is great for this kind of photography. As you can hear right now, there are some animals fighting over in the bush. So I went over to investigate. Tried to be a little mediator here and break up the fight. They didn't listen. So I continued on. Like I was saying, the Sigma Art 50mm f1.4 is amazing for these fine detailed shots. Creates beautiful bokeh in the background. Typically I love shooting on prime lenses for these fine detailed shots. I would love to do an entire wedding on prime lenses, but I tend to stick to zoom lenses, either my 24-70 or 70-200 right now, just because I'm more comfortable with those lenses. I do want to again get to the point where I'm solely shooting on prime lenses, but I find that the prime lenses miss focus often, and I just haven't figured out the perfect f-stop and distance for the photos. So I'm most comfortable on a zoom lens right now, but eventually I want to move into prime lenses. So right now I'm heading up these stairs to head up to the cabins where the wedding party is getting ready. Just stopping here to grab a photo of this sign because they put a lot of time and effort into making these wonderful signs, and it looks amazing. So while the bride and groom are still getting ready, I decided to grab their rings and photograph those. This is just in the back of the cabins here. I really love this setup
This is just on one of the logs of the fence in the back. The green is really nice in contrast to the log. The first photo was okay, but I felt it was missing something, and what it was missing was this custom ring box that they had made with their names engraved on it. So just toss that in, and this photo looks way better. The bride wanted to do a first look with her mother and the man of honor. So now I've moved on to my 24-70 just because I had no idea how this would roll out and how far everyone would be. Again, I'm more comfortable on zoom lenses versus primes. This went very smoothly. Right now, for these first looks, I just try to grab as many expressions and emotions that I can. I don't get in the way of these at all. I just let them do their thing and try to photograph as many emotions, like I said. Any little details like adjusting suspenders, which the bride is doing right here, I try to grab those photos and just move around. Being on a zoom lens definitely has its benefits here. I can grab a lot of wide photos of full body length shots and then quickly zoom in to grab some nice close-up photos like this one of them hugging. Now, before taking off to go photograph the groom getting ready, I wanted to make sure I grabbed this photo, a full-length shot of the back of the dress for the bride. I find a lot of brides do look for this photo in their album. They spend a lot of money on their dress and they would like to have a full-length shot of it. Now I've moved over to the groom's cabin to photograph him getting ready. When I'm doing these getting ready shots, I try not to get in the way too much. I find the candids are a lot better photos than kind of the posed ones. Plus, a lot of weddings are running behind schedule and it's a mad rush to get ready. And the last thing they need is the photographer stopping them every few minutes to pose some photos. When deciding on what to photograph for these getting ready photos, I look for fine details. Details like attaching suspenders, straightening ties, putting on watches. Those are great photos. Also, photos of friends or family helping the groom get ready turn out really well. It's also important to ask the groom and bride if there's anything special that they are wearing that is important to the wedding. For this wedding, they had a subtle dinosaur theme, and the groom had dinosaur cufflinks, which I photographed here. Ideally, I would have photographed that a little bit better and made the cufflinks more of a prominent item, but still a great photo nonetheless. Now we've moved into the ceremony. So this one was a little difficult simply because it was such a tight platform and small runway. So you can see me squeezing around the signing table here to get all sorts of angles. So one problem that came up that I didn't even realize was going to be a problem until the ceremony started was the way this area is set up allows me easy access to photograph the groom's reactions. However, if I want to photograph the bride's reactions and her face, I would need to get past these people on the left and into that corner. So it simply wasn't going to be possible for me to do that without causing a big distraction. So I made do with what I had. I tried my best to lean over and grab the bride's reactions. I think the photos turned out great regardless, but it's just something to take note of. And here is the star of the show. This is Blue, their corgi puppy. Extremely photogenic. Cute dog. So while the wedding party is coming down the aisle, I just try to grab a vertical and a horizontal photo just to give the couple options when they decide to print. If they do want to print those photos, they have two different options. Other than that, I just grab other emotion photos. So I look for people laughing, people smiling, people crying. So even though the walkway down here is massive, the runway to the ceremony area is actually pretty short because it starts right there at the stairs, which I get the best photos. So to grab a horizontal and vertical of the wedding party walking down here is relatively tough. You got to be really quick. As you can hear, I grab a lot of photos. I probably shoot way too many photos, but it's great to have options when I am editing. It's better to have more than not enough, in my opinion. It does make editing time quite a bit longer, but I don't mind it. As you can guess, I'm still on my 24 to 70mm lens. It worked great for this situation because it is such a small viewing platform. I wanted to be able to get wide photos like this, but also zoom in down the runway for the bride walking down or any of the wedding party. It also makes it easier to grab those close-up photos without being such a distraction. I find in these small ceremony areas, the less you can move around, the better. So as we move into the first look, as the bride comes around the corner here and the groom finally sees her, I quickly grab as many photos of his reaction as possible. This is very important to a lot of couples. So I grab that photo and then I go back and forth of the bride walking down with her dad and the groom's reaction back and forth.
Please be seated, everyone. Welcome, family and friends.
So I continue to grab photos up front here,
To witness and to celebrate.
and then once the ceremony actually begins, I will move away from up front and move to the back where I will grab photos back there. As you can see, there is not much room to move around, so I sneak back to the stairs, and this is where I will live for the rest of the ceremony. As we move through the ceremony, I just go back and forth between the bride and the groom, just grabbing as many emotional photographs as possible of them smiling, laughing, crying. As you can see, I can easily stand up here at the front. I am blocking people from viewing the ceremony. I usually go quickly, but I can easily photograph the groom from this side, and the bride is a little bit harder because I can't get in there on the right to get her face. Now we move into signing the marriage license. I don't grab too many photos of this simply because I don't imagine a lot of couples are going to be printing photos of them signing their marriage license. I grab one of everybody signing it, and that's about it. So now we move into the first kiss. So before the ceremony, I like to talk to the officiant just to ask if they could move out of the way for the first kiss when they announce it. This officiant was perfect. She stood well out of the way, even made sure the bride had her flowers for the photos, and then announced them. I love to grab a lot of photos. I just rapid fire here and do a lot of vertical and horizontal. I find that the kissing photos are great, but right before the first kiss, those close photos are even better. Now I just continue to follow the couple back down the aisle for a little bit and grab more and more photos. Again, this is great where the wide angle lens came in handy. Now we're in that awkward purgatory time where everyone's kind of congratulating the couple, and I just stand around and grab as many reaction photos as possible, looking for any kind of emotion from anybody. Kids are perfect. Everyone's usually smiling around kids. They usually do funny things. When you add a dog into the mix also. Dogs and kids, they're perfect for wedding photos, as you will see. So now I've gone off with the bride and groom. We went to a local hike nearby to get into the forest. I love doing forest shoots with weddings. I find the contrast between the suits and the wedding dress with the green backdrop of forests is just so beautiful. It stands out really well. This staircase is great. I'm trying to set up the leading lines to draw the viewer's eyes into the couple here, and just having them do different poses of walking away from me and looking towards each other. I think the photos turned out great. Again, I love that green contrast against their suits. Their suit. His suit. And her wedding dress.
I mean, I love those trees too.
Yeah, we can go like...
And even like, look at that green wall. It's everywhere.
You'll hit the green wall on the way back.
Hit the green wall on the way back.
Okay.
Let's go to those trees. Spoiler alert, we do come back to the green wall. And it is amazing. So now we're just walking along the beach here looking for a location to do the photos. I'm really drawn towards this rocky area with a lot of dark trees, and the rocks are very dark. I like the dark contrast when it's pushed behind the couple. Creates a lot of good contrast between the bright wedding dress and the groom suit. So I position them there. I'm again on my 24-70 zoom lens. Just backing up a little bit here, and then I will ask the couple just to look at each other and transition between different poses. We're just waiting for this person to get out of the way now.
Great. And if you want to turn a little bit.
So I captured this photo at 40 millimeters, which is great. But I really wanted to get the full aspect or the full view of the background of this treed area. So it's nice being on this zoom lens. I can go to 24 millimeters, get nice and close, and get a wide angle shot of this, which I really do enjoy.
Let's do,
So during my photo shoots, I love to move around as much as possible, going from location to location, even if it's just a short walk to a new location or positioning your camera at a different angle. I find this is very important to do. It's great to have different poses, but if you stay in the same location and do 25 different poses, a lot of those photos are going to look like the exact same photo. Whereas if you go to 17 different locations and only do 2 different poses at each of those locations, it will look like you have a lot more deliverable photos when you give them to the client. So changing the background location is very important. Here we are kind of just standing over on the rocks. I was looking at that leading line, trying to see if I could lead the angle or the edge of the rocks into the couple. Found out it wasn't really going to work, so I move over here and photograph the couple at 70 millimeters with the ocean in the background. At weddings on zoom lenses, I try to zoom in as much as possible and shoot at the longest focal length. This is just to help increase the amount of bokeh that I can get because I'm not shooting on prime lenses. Like I said before, I do want to get to the point where I shoot weddings solely on prime lenses, but for right now, I am more comfortable on the zoom lenses. So when I am posing my couples and I want them to show some emotions, I simply tell them to fake laugh or awkwardly laugh at each other. This might seem weird at the start, but it actually works 100% of the time. They will awkwardly laugh, which will eventually turn into real laughing just because it is such a silly request. And then I just keep grabbing as many photos as they're doing it, and you will get the authentic reaction from them.
Megan, if you want to look at me, and Ryan, if you
So from those previous photos that we just looked at, it's great to have the ocean in the background. But I find these photos where if I can position the couple with dark features behind them, like before where we had that dark rock and those dark green trees, now I can easily position the bride and groom just a little bit over, and I can grab it with this dark rock in the background. It creates a lot more contrast, and it helps them stand out in the photographs.
Let's do some ring stuff. So we'll do, yeah, similar things.
So when it comes to couple photos, you still need to grab a lot of fine detail photos. These ones are, I find, the hardest because you really have to direct the couples to do what you want them to do. Usually I rely on the couples just interacting with themselves just the way that they naturally do, and a lot of the time it's completely fine. For these ones, it's a lot more posed images, so you really have to study up on these poses specifically to know how to position them the way they want, or the way you want. So I grabbed those ring photos here, and then we're doing a couple more with the flowers here involved in it. So you really, again, have to direct them where to put their hands. I like to tell the bride and groom whether or not their faces are going to be in the shots or not. It just allows them to relax a little bit more if their faces aren't going to be in it. So as we move to the next location, I love to grab walking photos of the couple, especially wide angle walking photos like this one here. I think it just works really well to show the landscape, to show where we were, and remind them of their special day. These ones are easy to grab because the couple doesn't have to worry about which way to turn, how to pose, how to engage with each other. Just simply walking to the next location, and I will do the work of moving around them. This couple was also great. They had no problem traversing over these slippery rocks to get the photos that we wanted to get. As you will see here, again, more of these walking photos. Simple to do, but they tell such a great story.
Yeah, both of you.
And this is the point where I find out it is very difficult to direct a couple when I am 30 meters away from them. So this photo turned out really well of the couple at 70 millimeters, but I knew that if I moved to my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, I could get a lot more compression on the photos, and that is exactly what I did. So now I'm on my 70 to 200 f2.8. Had to move back here because I want to shoot it at 200 millimeter so I can get as much compression as possible, and you will see here. Great looking photo with a lot of compression, so the background looks like it's a lot closer. And here we are back at the green wall. I didn't lie to you. I said we'd return, and we have returned. Decided to stick to my 70 to 200 just so I can get a lot of bokeh in the background.
And then Ryan, if you want to,
and plus changing lenses every 5 minutes is cumbersome. So if you can make a lens work, then make it work. This green wall is an amazing backdrop. Like I've said before, the green contrasts with the bride's dress and the groom's suit very well, makes them stand out.
Great.
So now we are making the walk back through the forest. I wanted to grab a few more photos here. Switch back to my 24 to 70 here. We found this nice little bridge with a nice backdrop, forest backdrop with a lot of trees and moss that again work really well. And last but not least, the bride had a request. She is in love with ferns. So what better way to photograph ferns than with the wedding rings on top of it? Found this beautiful fern here, zoom in as much as possible, and photograph it. Worked out really well. It's the first time I've ever photographed a fern with wedding rings on top of it. There we go. So that is it. That was the full behind the scenes wedding photography in Port Renfrew, outlooking Harris Cove. Hope you had fun. I will be posting another one that I am working on coming soon. Thanks.